major shifts are happening in Victoria's real estate market. Behind me, there's over 23 condos being resold at BOSA's new Dockside Green Towers, which just completed construction. Across the water at the Janyan, where I am now, there's over 30 short-term rentals listed in this building and others like it since the BC government announced sweeping changes to short-term rental laws. In both these cases, we're now seeing the full effects of purchasers who bought when interest rates were low back in 2020 and 2021 and are now facing massive holding costs and potentially cash flow negative investments. And with the new proposed provincial legislation that could allow up to 6 multifamily units on every lot in BC, we could see more changes down the road and changes to where investors put their money in Victoria. In this market update, we'll look at if condo listings and condo sales like this are the canary in the coal mine for what's to come in Victoria's market. My name is Willey. Please hit that subscribe button if you want to stay on top of Victoria's market with me. There's a lot to unpack this month before we dig into the stats. First, the Bank of Canada has decided to hold interest rates steady, which gives some small relief to variable rate mortgage holders and anyone with a mortgage coming up for renewal soon. According to a recent report, nearly half of all mortgage holders in Canada are struggling, and Victoria is no exception. The other huge news item this month was the BC government's proposal to ban short-term rentals less than 90 days in non-principal residences. This is particularly devastating to a group of Victoria property owners because Bill 35 will also remove non-conforming status from 23 buildings in downtown Victoria where Airbnbs were legally allowed to operate prior, such as the Janyan, the Falls, and the Mermaid Wharf. We're already seeing listings in these buildings and investors trying to get out. If you read any comments on the issue on Reddit or Facebook, you'll see that it's extremely divisive. Agree or not, the reality is it's going to have some real repercussions for these investors and their property values. The premium on these buildings for having STR status will disappear. Janyan microlofts were selling for well over $450,000 at the peak, and now we're looking at maybe a substantial drop in value there, perhaps even 25% in some cases. Plus, sellers are also looking at another 5% in GST that must be paid on the sale for change of use. The big question is, will it also spread to an already declining condo market in Victoria? Following hot on the heels of the STR ban, the NDP is also introducing new legislation to allow more density. This sweeping reform will allow 3 or 4 multifamily units such as townhomes and duplexes to be built on any lot in Victoria and the province, and up to 6 units on lots near transit stops. There's also several condo buildings that have completed recently, including Dockside Greens, Towers 1 and 2, 757 The Rail Yards, and the Pearl on Store Street, right between the Janyan and the Mermaid Wharf. And there's more buildings in the pipeline and throughout the city. Most of these units were purchased between 2020 and 2021 when interest rates were below 2%, and the investments would have been cash flow positive at those time when investors ran those numbers. Prices they're asking for now are still above what they paid in a lot of cases, but after realtor fees, closing costs such as GST and property transfer tax that had to be paid, most of these investors are simply trying to get their money back and break even. If you look at the listings, the bulk of this inventory doesn't appear to be moving, so investors are going to be left with the choice, either lower the price or rent it out and hold them. We're at a bit of a standoff right now. There's no sales, so no huge losses yet. But realistically, how long can people keep these units empty and for sale? My advice is the same as it's always been here. I think long term, these are prime waterfront locations, and they will eventually go up. They're beautiful buildings. A lot of them are steel and concrete. So the fundamentals of these investments is sound. I think the condo market and even rental prices might soften a bit over the next 6 months, however, to a year, due to all this increased inventory at once, but eventually it will come back. Construction costs will remain high, rental prices have a long way to fall, and immigration to the island will likely never slow down. I think the new multifamily legislation will produce a lot more inventory, but it'll take time to hit the market. It'll take time to go through the permitting and the construction process, and these won't be cheap homes to build or sell. Likely the result of this will be a lot more townhomes at the $1 million or plus price range, so condos and entry-level homes will always have a place in the market. So I believe prices will bounce back eventually, but the next year or so could be a bit tough for sellers. Now let's take a look at the numbers. We only had 407 sales in October, which is 15% less than October this time last year and a 10-year low. It's sluggish out there. There's over 160 price drops in the past week. Many homes dropping prices after only a week or so on market, which tells me in some cases they probably got no showings at all if they're dropping the price that fast. There's no room for overpricing a listing right now, and sellers have to be very realistic when they price their homes. Looking across the CRD, the West Shore has been performing the weakest in the last few months. According to Leo at House Hunt Victoria, these buyers are the most susceptible to higher interest rates, so it makes sense that we've seen the biggest slowdown in those segments. Oak Bay, for example, has a lot more cash buyer, a lot more wealthier individuals, and sales there remain stronger, and high-end properties are still selling, but even there, it's a slower pace as well. Looking at the median prices, single-family detached homes are down 7% this month, condos are down 3.4%, and townhomes are relatively flat. We're still up from this time last year, but not much. And looking at the market meter, which tracks the months of available inventory, this puts us into neutral territory, and we're moving more and more into the favor of buyers. I would love to hear from you. I want to hear what your experiences are out there in Victoria or wherever you're watching from. Please leave a comment below, and please also remember to subscribe because it helps me make more videos like this in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.